Before the sun had the decency to rise, the land was already awake. Not in the comforting way a city might wake with bells and bustle, but with something more sinister, dry wind whispering over bones half buried in sand. There's no running water, no electricity, no insulation, just four shaky planks keeping the desert night from clawing your throat. The smell of old sweat, gun oil, and dry blood still lingers from whoever slept here before you. You're not sure where your boots are, but your feet are already blistering. Coyotes yipping in the distance, and the heavy silence that comes only when something is watching. You've stepped into the American Wild West, a world where time moves slow and death moves fast. You wake in a wooden shack that hardly deserves the word house. The floor is dirt, the walls rotted timber. There's no time to dwell. The West doesn't wait for you. You were supposed to meet a man by dawn to guide you out to some cattle camp, but he didn't show. You don't have a gun. You don't even know which direction is north. And right now, that scarred man is deciding whether you're worth the trouble of robbing. The only thing stopping him is the fact that someone else might be watching him. That's already a problem. If he was bitten by a rattlesnake, caught in quicksand, a few cans of beans, a roll of tobacco, a box of bullets. 44 caliber? The storekeeper, a wiry man with shaking hands, sizes you up with a glance. He knows you're not from here. You stay, you die, or you disappear. He also knows how little that will matter when the sun gets high enough you have no money anyway. In the West, that's almost a death sentence. He's thin, gray, and too old for this. His badge is tarnished, and his eyes look like they've seen 100 men buried with their boots on. But just stepping into his shadow makes you a suspect. In the West, you're guilty until proven useful. He surveys the town, sees you, and doesn't wave. You think about trying to trade your coat, but even that's not worth much when everyone already has their own. Dead or drunk, he says without looking up. Either way, he's late. The sun has climbed high enough to burn your scalp if you stand still too long. Your lips are cracking. Your hands are shaking. What people really trade out here is information. And you don't have any to boil your skin and burn your eyes out of your skull. Or just decided to rob someone instead. Any of these would be ordinary enough to explain his absence. And none of them would make your morning easier. Just curious. It's about survival in a land too harsh to forgive mistakes. It's about who you are when stripped of everything. Comfort, safety, illusion. You step outside. The air is thin and biting, the horizon painted with violent oranges and pinks. The town is barely more than 10 buildings, each leaning like they've given up. It never closes, really. Inside, it's dark, thick with smoke and something sour. The West doesn't slow down to pity you. It doesn't care if your skin isn't used to the sun or your lungs aren't built for the dust. It doesn't care if you're scared. That's just nature. But the people? The people here do care, because weakness is opportunity. You notice a man passed out in the corner, a bottle still in his hand. No one cares. He might be dead. Still, no one cares. A sign swinging on one rusted hinge reads, "Desperation." You think it's the name of the town, or maybe a warning. In this time, there are no soft landings, no Google Maps, no helpful locals, no safety nets. The West chews you up if you show weakness. You're not from here, you don't know the rules. One eye milky white, a grin that doesn't reach his eyes. He's watching you. Not like someone curious, like someone calculating. And the rules, though simple, are brutal. Don't trust anyone. Carry your own water. Never ride without a weapon, and never ever stare too long. Especially not at the man with the scar. You see him leaning on a post outside the saloon. You don't have a horse. Welcome to the hierarchy of fear. You walk toward the general store, trying not to look too desperate. Inside, the shelves are bare. How long you plan on lasting? He asks, not unkindly. I'm passing through, you say. No one passes through desperation, he says. You leave without buying anything. Outside, the scarred man is gone. That's worse than if he were still watching. The saloon opens early. You ask the bartender about the missing guide. It's now 9 and already you've made 2 enemies, been ignored by 3 more, and you're dangerously dehydrated. You sit on a crate behind the livery, watching flies cluster on a dried blood stain. By noon, the sheriff finally rides into town. He walks past like you're already dead. You try to follow him, hoping for some help. "I'm looking for someone," you say. "We all are," the sheriff replies. He closes the door behind him. You're alone again, more alone than you've ever felt. And it's only the first day. The West isn't romantic. It's not about wide-open freedom or noble duels, it's a test. And you're already failing. The wind picks up, somewhere, a gunshot echoes. You don't even flinch. Now we ride? This whole town waits for one thing, the sunset. When the sun dips below the horizon, these hills will fill with shadows. That's when the ghosts come out. Some men hunt them. Most men don't, none of them last long. I don't have a horse. Don't know how to ride one. Learned to shoot a rifle from my pa when I was 8 years old. We lived near the border. Sometimes the revenuers came through. Cue the cavalry, cue the piano man. You can hear him now. Heard him all week. Didn't think he'd be playing for us, but then again, I'm not much for surprises. Little did she know I was lost and I needed help. We sat on a porch drinking rot-gut whiskey, watching the sunset behind the mountains. He told me a story about a boy. We're all headed to hell and he wants to make sure we get there on time. Said the boy was different. Could hear the music before the train came, said the music drove him insane. A couple of fellas trying to make their money back, others just passing time. This one guy keeps losing. You can see the anger rising in him, see it in the way he holds his cards, the way he looks at the other guy. See it in the knuckles that are white as bone against the worn deck of cards. Wondered if it would drive me insane. Maybe it has. Maybe I'm insane. Maybe we all are. People get up, stretch, yawn, get off the train. The doors slide open. Now's our chance. All of us on this train. It glistens under the dim light of the saloon. Glistens like a promise. Glistens like a threat. Hasn't moved. Hasn't blinked. Hasn't breathed. I don't know how long she's been there. Doesn't matter. Most times they were looking for moonshine. Sometimes they were looking for me. They never found me. I got good at hiding. Those that stay too long become part of the landscape. Maybe that's where we're all headed. The afterlife, the unknown. You never really know until the end. Good enough to hide from the whole damn US cavalry. She did though, found me anyways. Sighed, I looked lost. Asked if I wanted help. There's a mother cradling a baby, humming some song, singing to a child that won't remember a damn word. There's an old man sitting alone. Doesn't seem to mind. Watches the world go by. Doesn't care if it stays or goes. He's seen enough sunsets to last a lifetime. Same for me. No one comes to this town unless they have to. The ones that do rarely leave the same. It's not the Wild West without a train. Hear that iron horse coming through the canyons. Guess that's our cue. I met a man once rode a mule, played a mean harmonica. There's a young couple holding hands, laughing at some joke only they know. How do you stop a train? You can't. Let it take you where it wants to go? The conductor comes through yelling at us to move our damn feet, says we're blocking the aisle. That's right. Got a card game going on in the back. The train slows to a halt. We pull into a station. She sits alone at a table by the window. She wears the prettiest dress I ever seen. And underneath that dress, she hides the prettiest gun I ever seen. I don't know which one she's gonna be tonight, but I wouldn't be surprised if she ends up being both. Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. This is a new series called 6-Word Flash Fiction, but with more characters and a lot less graphic violence. What I really liked about this story is the atmosphere. The whole thing is dripping with dread. I love lines like, "The town of desperation is still like a graveyard before the burial." That's what happens when you set a story in a world where there aren't any laws and people are free to do whatever they want. But I think the story did a good job of showing why these people behave the way they do. You know, when the sheriff says, "The only law west of the river is the one you make," you kind of get the sense that these people aren't all bad. They're just tired of being victims. So they've taken matters into their own hands. And honestly, who can blame them? And you can really feel the hopelessness of the situation through lines like, "The sky is gray." I think it does an excellent job of making you care about the characters. I found myself rooting for the main character, and that's no easy task considering the fact that we know absolutely nothing about him. but you do a great job of showing us his feelings through his actions and his thoughts. Heavy. I loved reading it. Thank you so much for sharing it with me. Now I'm going to go ahead and post this story along with all the other entries to the archive. And tomorrow I'll post a link to the new story on the website. And then the cycle will begin anew. Until then, happy writing. Something is coming, which is very effective because the story makes you feel like you rewrite there in the middle of it. Well, let's see how many of them we can fit into 6 minutes. How'd I do? Okay, so first of all, shout out to our winner. Congratulations. Come over to the website and pick up your $50. Every Monday and Friday, I'll post a piece of flash fiction, 6 words long. That's it. And I challenge you to write a story based on those 6 words. You can upload your story anywhere. Just tag it with the hashtag provided. It's not all, my favorite character in the whole story is the sheriff. I love the line, yesterday's gone, and today might not finish. Perfect. Also, the West is winning again. I can't think of a better way to end the story. He ran here and he shot that and then he jumped over there. It's actually written in a way that makes you feel like you rewrite there, experiencing it along with him. There's lots of great sensory details. The story isn't just telling me that there's smoke and explosions. I can smell it, I can taste it, I can hear it. The writing actually makes me feel like I am right there. And each week we'll have a winner. This week's winner gets $50 and an inscribed copy of one of my books. This week's 6 words, The Only Law West of the River, was the one you made. Now this was a really fun story to read. It's almost like a Western version of Stephen King's The Mist. The pacing is also really excellent. It crawls in parts and sprints in others. I love the way the action is described. Now, the biggest strength of the story is definitely the dialogue. Every line of it is perfect. As far as things that could be improved, obviously the story is a little bit dark. Now, while this story is extremely violent overall, this is an amazing story. In the aftermath of a devastating attack on the fictional town of Desperation, the story follows the journey of a nameless protagonist and a young boy named Eli, as they navigate the treacherous landscape of the American West in search of answers and survival. The narrative opens with the haunting image of desperation smoldering in the distance, and the saloon is completely gutted. The once bustling town is now a scene of utter destruction. The town has been decimated. Despite his critical condition, he manages to impart some crucial information before succumbing to his injuries. The barkeep produces a scorched map indicating the direction the attackers headed, San Arroyo. You understand that stopping the gang before they reach San Arroyo is crucial to protecting Eli and avenging the town's destruction, symbolizing the dwindling time you have to reach San Arroyo ahead of the gang. The oppressive heat intensifies, making the journey arduous. A desolate ghost town that holds the key to the mystery. The ruins of the buildings tell tales of a violent past. You explore the deserted streets, searching for clues and answers. As the night wears on, you keep a vigilant watch, having defended San Arroyo and avenged the destruction of Desperation. With the threat of the gang neutralized, you can finally begin to heal and rebuild. You are left to contemplate the cyclical nature of violence and the enduring spirit of those who fight for justice and survival. The desolate beauty of the West serves as a constant reminder of the harsh realities of the time period. Acutely aware of the danger that lurks in the darkness, realizing that the attackers are still a threat, you decide to follow them, hoping to protect Eli and uncover the mystery surrounding the town's destruction. He reveals that the attackers are still out there and warns you not to let them take Eli, emphasizing that the boy holds significance in their plans. You stumble upon the long-lost box that the gang had stolen. It becomes clear that this box holds immense importance, possibly containing artifacts with supernatural powers. The relentless sun beats down as you trek across the barren terrain. A fierce battle ensues, testing your skills and determination. The fate of San Arroyo and the lives of its inhabitants hang in the balance. The echoes of gunshots and the cries of the wind carry the legacy of the West, a land of both promise and peril. Eventually, you reach a shady spot by a dried creek bed where you and Eli decide to rest for the night, its buildings burnt or destroyed. You and the boy find yourself atop the bell tower of the destroyed church, contemplating the tragedy that has unfolded below. As you descend the tower, the full extent of the devastation becomes apparent. Homes are shattered, corpses strewn across the floor. Upon reaching the ground, you discover the sheriff lying wounded near the jailhouse. As darkness envelops the desert, Eli reveals more about his mother and the attackers. She had been a member of the gang until she decided to leave. Driven by guilt, she buried a box containing stolen goods near San Arroyo. The gang, however, is still searching for it. As the survivors gather at the ruined saloon to discuss their next move, with little supplies and no clear plan, you begin your journey into the harsh desert landscape. Around nightfall, you set up camp near a rock formation that resembles a giant's hand. With this new information, with dawn approaching, you prepare to continue your journey. The rising sun casts long shadows as you walk. Finally, you and Eli arrive at San Arroyo. As you venture deeper into the town, meanwhile, the gang arrives in San Arroyo, their leader furious that you have beaten them there. In the end, you emerge victorious as the story concludes. And so your journey from grief-stricken survivor to unlikely hero comes to an end? Okay, here's the backstory on this. This is an excerpt from a longer story I wrote called The Curse of San Arroyo. It is about a group of treasure hunters in an alternate version of the American West, where magic is real and dangerous. First off, we start with a nice bit of world building. We're told that San Arroyo doesn't show up on any honest maps, which immediately flags it as a special place. Why wouldn't an honest man want to chart it? This little detail also hints at the fact that San Arroyo is probably cursed, or at least unlucky. It sets expectations. The world is based pretty heavily on the works of writers like Cormac McCarthy and has a lot of really cool stuff in it. There is a nice balance between showing the physical threat the gang represents and hinting at their supernatural abilities. His defiance in the face of danger is admirable, though perhaps a little misguided. It shows that he's been influenced by his mother, whose actions have probably been driven by desperation. Their silence, especially the silence of the leader, is deafening. It creates an atmosphere of dread and foreboding. The pause, the holding of the breath, the anticipation as the book is touched. This moment of contact is the climax of the scene and hopefully the story. It leaves us wondering what will happen next, what the consequences of this touch will be. Will the protagonist be forever changed? Will the curse be unleashed? The possibilities are exciting. The use of foreshadowing here is really effective. We've been told the box is dangerous. So when the leader says it belongs to them, we know that things are going to get bad. His companion Eli is sleeping soundly, which establishes their power dynamic. The crunch of their boots, the silence in the face of the vastness of the desert, these things all work to build tension. You can almost hear the silence, which adds to the isolation and danger of their situation. Eli is younger, weaker, more innocent, and the protagonist is clearly looking out for him. The idea of the fire dying and the coldness creeping in is also symbolic of the loss of hope or warmth in the world. The idea that the townspeople were so desperate that they drank salt water rather than leave is a nice touch. It gives us insight into their desperation and paints a grim picture of their fate. The characters are literally freezing to death, and all they can do is trudge forward into the cursed town. If you want to read the full story, you can find it on my page. Now, here's why I think this scene works. We then immediately thrown into the action with our unnamed protagonist waking up next to the fire with the distinct sense that he is being watched. The use of sound and silence is really effective in this scene. Once they arrive in town, the change in scenery is described in vivid detail. The darkening sand, the red rocks, the absence of plants. It feels like the town itself is bleeding into the earth. The imagery of a crooked bleach sign or a memory sunken into the ground emphasizes the idea that this place is haunted. It's like the ghosts of the town have leached into the landscape itself. I also love the description of the well and the surrounding area. When the gang shows up, the mood shifts to menace. The appearance of Eli is a nice surprise. It adds an element of unpredictability and hopefully a glimmer of optimism to the story. The final confrontation is built nicely. So that's why I think this scene works. Thanks for listening and see you next time. That was awesome. Thank you so much for sharing this amazing story with me. I absolutely loved it. I just wanted to ask a few questions because I kind of feel like it has so much potential. It feels like the beginning of something really big. Like a sample to see if people would like it before publishing a full novel. Is that true? If you ever do decide to continue this story, I would love to read it. I promise I won't bite. I'm actually working on something myself right now. I'm finishing up a horror novel. I've been writing it for years and I think it's finally ready to be published. It's been through like 12 drafts, so I'm starting to feel pretty confident about it. I am just waiting for feedback from a couple of beta readers, and then I plan to publish it on Amazon. Anyway, thank you so much again for sharing your work with me. I really appreciate it, and I hope to hear more from you soon. Bye. Because if it is, you should definitely publish it. I would totally read it. I think it would do really well. People love stories like this. I know I do. I would love to read a whole novel based on this world and these characters. Okay, I have another question. Can you please tell me more about the main character? I feel like we don't know much about them. I mean, we know they travel with Eli and they seem to be good at fighting, but that's kind of it. Do you have any details about them that you could share? Maybe their name or their backstory? I'm just curious. I feel like we could learn more about them, and I would love to see that. So, do you have anything else written, or do you maybe have an idea of what could happen next? Because I kind of want to help you develop this. I also love the world you created here. The atmosphere is fantastic. It feels like the book is something sinister and ancient, and it totally reminds me of those creepy pastas that I read on Reddit. Like it's something that would be found in an old library or an antique shop. Do you get what I mean? Something that is accidentally released and then all hell breaks loose. Speaking of hell, this whole story has kind of given me that vibe. This book seems to bring nothing but destruction and sadness wherever it goes. So, I wonder, do you think it's possible for the main character to destroy the book? Maybe burn it or something. I don't know. How do you think? Because I have some ideas and I want to see if maybe we could expand this story together. First of all, do you have any plans for this story? And I also got the feeling that this story is like an excerpt from a larger work. Okay, that's all I have. Those were just my thoughts. Hey there, everybody. Welcome to my channel. I am here today to talk about a new original story that we published called The Roads Left Are Circles. It's our third publication in our new series, and I'm here to tell you why you should go read it right now. Well, first, it's free. And the story is structured in such a way that really lets the language shine. It's wonderfully atmospheric. It's superbly written. What more could you ask for? I hope you enjoy it. I hope you share it with your friends. And I hope you subscribe to our channel and follow us on social media so you never miss an update. Until next time, happy reading. We published a lot of flash fiction on our social media accounts, and people always seem to respond strongly to those pieces that have this kind of poetic quality to them. And The Roads Left Are Circles is just one long poem of a story. It's a short novella-length story available exclusively on our website. And on top of that, if you sign up for our email list, which is totally free, you can get the story in an email, beautifully formatted, no ads, no distractions, just like getting a physical book in the mail. Plus, you'll get early access to all our stories before anyone else, as well as news, updates, and other cool stuff that we have planned. Okay, but why should you read The Roads Left Are Circles? Well, how about because it's super creepy? This story is our most horror-tinged tale yet. There's something very Lovecraftian about a nameless, inescapable dread that hangs over the entire narrative. And it's really fun to try to pin down exactly what that is. I would say that part of it is the isolation, the sense of being watched, the feeling that whatever is coming for the main character is inevitable and inescapable. Another part of it is the ambiguity. There's a lot that we don't know about this world. We've got this couple, we've got the book, we've got this nameless desert landscape, and that's about it. Everything else is sort of felt. This sense that there is so much more to this world and to the story that we are not privy to, and that adds to the sense of creeping dread. Also, I would say that part of what makes this story so effective is that it's so sparely written. I mean, there's only two characters. They barely even speak to each other. All of the action takes place over a few days and in a few locations, but still, the story packs an incredible punch. And I think a big reason for that is just how wonderfully atmospheric it is. The writing makes you feel like you're right there in the story, experiencing everything alongside the main character, the heat, the isolation, the terror. It's all palpable. You can almost taste the dust in the air and hear the whispers on the wind. Finally, I think what elevates this story above and beyond is the prose. The language is absolutely gorgeous. It's poetic, evocative, precise. So that's why you should go read The Roads Left Are Circles. It's free. It's scary as hell. Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. This is episode 102. Now, we publish an episode every week and you can listen on your favorite podcast platform. If you like what you heard and you want to hear more stories like this, please make sure to follow. More like a cluster of buildings trying not to collapse. A chapel with no bell. A saloon with no doors. The priest is long dead, judging by the bones in the corner. But there's still some sanctity left in the cracked walls and faded crosses. You light a candle and unwrap the book. The pages seem heavier than before. When you open it, the script inside moves, words crawling slowly, rearranging as if adjusting to your eyes. You flip back to the page where your name had appeared. It's gone. In its place, a date? Tomorrow? Eli reads it over your shoulder. That's when it ends, he whispers. You close the book hard, but you can still feel it humming like a clock, a countdown. You both try to sleep on the chapel floor, beneath a stained glass window that shows a saint you've never seen before, holding a torch instead of a cross. You dream of pages burning, of dust rising, of a man with no face. In the morning, the townsfolk are gone, all of them. No carts, no signs, no bodies, just absence. El Rito is empty, except for the hoof prints. They cover the streets, dozens, maybe hundreds, but no horses. No riders. You don't say anything to Eli, you don't have to. You both know. The clock is ticking, the road is ending, and the next town won't be a town at all. It'll be something else, something ancient, something watching. And if you turn back now, you'll still end up there. Because the Wild West isn't a place anymore, it's a test. And you're already failing. A sheriff's office that hasn't seen a badge in years. The place smells of old horses and older sins. You and Eli arrive just after noon, covered in dust, too tired to look lost. The few people who do linger in the town square don't speak. They don't wave. They just stare. Like they know what you're carrying, like they've seen it before. You tie the horse near the trough and walk into the saloon. Inside, silence. A few men sit at the bar, heads low, hands nursing glasses like communion. The barkeep doesn't look up when you ask for water. You're late, he says. You blink. Late for what? For trouble. That's when the piano starts playing. You didn't see anyone sitting there before, but now, there he is. A tall figure dressed in black. Hat low, back straight, long fingers brushing ivory keys like he's counting heartbeats instead of notes, and no shadow. Not even a sliver on the floor beneath him. The tune is slow, mournful, almost familiar. Almost, you move toward him. The other men at the bar shift uneasily, pushing away from their stools. Eli grips your hand. Don't talk to him, he whispers. But you already are. Who are you? The man stops playing. The last note hangs in the air like a breath waiting to be exhaled. He turns his head slightly, just enough to reveal the side of his face smooth, ageless, too perfect to trust. I'm the one who walks when others ride, he says. I'm the echo left behind when bullets miss. You reach for your rifle. He shakes his head slowly. There's no use for metal and powder where you're going. You swallow hard. Why are you following us? I'm not. He stands. He's taller than you thought. The room seems to bend slightly around him. You're following me, he says. You step back. He steps forward and suddenly the air is thick. The way a storm thickens just before it breaks. He looks down at Eli. The boy's important. You step in front of him. So am I? He smiles. No warmth. No threat, just inevitability. The book opened for you. You nod. It knows your name now, he says. That's rare. Most men die before it writes. You ask him what it is, what it wants. His eyes narrow. It doesn't want. It remembers. It collects. It accounts. He walks past you, heading for the door. You call after him. What happens now? He stops on the threshold, turns his head just enough to let the light catch the edge of his jaw, still no shadow. Now? He says. Now you decide who you want to bury first. And then he's gone. Outside, the wind picks up. Dust rises. The sun dims not with clouds, but with something heavier. You rush outside, he's already out of sight. You don't ask where he went because, he doesn't go anywhere. He just arrives. And if you enjoy horror stories, check out our podcast. And now, without further ado, let's get to the story. El Rito rises out of the desert like a memory trying to forget itself. Not a town, really. That night, you and Eli hole up in the chapel. Yeah, I want to read this one again. You leave El Rito before the sun crests the hills. There's no choice. The streets are empty. The wind has teeth, and even the walls of the buildings look like they trying to forget what they've seen. The road ahead is narrower now. Less trail, more scar. You don't ask where it leads. The book knows. And now you do too. Eli rides behind you in silence, his arms tighter than usual, breath shallow. He's seen what you've seen. The prints in the dust, the man with no shadow, the line in the book that moved when no hand turned the page. But he hasn't seen what comes next. Not yet. By midday, the desert gives way to something stranger. Not greener, not wetter, just different. A field, out of place flat, wide, filled with tall, swaying stalks of silver grass that glint like polished nails. The wind here doesn't sound like wind. It ticks, not a breeze, not a whistle. Just ticking, steady, unnatural like the inside of a pocket watch. You stop, so does the horse. It refuses to take another step. You dismount and lead it through, Eli walking behind, eyes darting. The moment your boots touch the grass, it happens. The world slows, not in a metaphor, in truth. Your limbs move as though underwater. The wind ticks louder. The sky darkens not with storm, but with memory. Something old clings to the air. You taste rust, then movement. From the edge of the grass, a figure appears. An old man, bent, thin, wearing a long coat of red and black patchwork. He holds no gun, only a cane shaped like a winding key. His voice, when it comes, is hollow but rhythmic, like a pendulum. You're late, he says. You try to respond, but your words are molasses. He nods anyway. No one gets here early. That's not how time works. Eli moves to speak, but the man raises a hand. Listen, you do. And beneath the ticking, there's something else. A creaking. A grinding, like gears turning. And just like that, you see them, all around, in the grass. Tiny brass mechanisms, turning endlessly, gears, springs, cogs, moving with no power, no fuel. Just purpose. You realize with a chill, the grass isn't grass. It's made of metal. Thousands of blades, sharpened and thin, each one ticking with time. The old man smiles. You brought it with you, didn't you? You nod. He gestures toward a stone bench nearby, carved from something that looks like bone. Sit, he says. We haven't much left. You do. He studies you with clockmaker-esque eyes, like you real watch he's thinking of disassembling. You touch the book? That makes you a keeper. You say you never asked to be one. No one does. But the book chooses. And when it does, time changes. You ask what the book is. He shrugs. No one truly knows. Some say it's a record. Others say it's a jail. Some say it's alive, but I think it's worse. You wait. He leans close. I think it's a wound in time. Something torn open during a moment too heavy to bear. Maybe a battle, maybe a death, maybe something older, but it bleeds. It writes. And it remembers. You ask if it can be closed. He sighs. Only once, and only by the one who dies with it. You go cold. Eli squeezes your hand. The old man smiles sadly. Don't look at the boy like that. He isn't the one. You are. You ask how he knows. Because the book wrote your name. And when it does, it's final. You pull it from your saddlebag, unwrapping it. It hums louder now. Even the ticking pauses for a beat. The old man touches the cover, winces. This thing has teeth, he whispers, but teeth rot, and if you can find the root. He trails off. You ask what you have to do. His eyes grow distant. There's a town, he says. South of here, one that isn't on any map. It moves like a mirage. Like a bruise. People call it sixes because everything there comes in sixes. 6 streets, 6 churches, 6 coffins, always 6. He leans close. That's where the book began. You ask how to find it. You don't, he says. It finds you. You just have to ride south until the sky turns red. You stand, so does he. Eli watches, silent. Before you leave, the old man offers one last thing, a coin. Old, heavy, with no markings. Flip this when you get there, he says. If it lands heads, walk in. If it lands tails, bury the book, say nothing, and run. You pocket the coin. Thank him. Then ask why I help you. The man turns, already fading into the ticking grass. Because once, a long time ago, I flipped the coin too. And it came up tails, then he vanishes into the grass. And time resumes. The wind howls. The metal blades cut your boots. But you don't stop. You ride south. And behind you, the clockmaker's field ticks on, counting down to something you're not ready to meet, but will soon. Hey, partner, ride with me now through the red dust of this forgotten world. Let me tell you about sixes. Ride till your horse foams at the mouth and the sun burns low like a blood-orange blister on the horizon. Eli doesn't speak. Neither do you. The coin the old man gave you burns in your pocket like it's been heated over a fire. It weighs more than metal. It weighs like choice. You ride south, just like he said. And sure enough, the sky changes, not slowly, not like dusk, but all at once, one moment, the clouds are gold and rust. The next, the entire sky is the color of dried blood. A red so deep it makes your eyes water. The kind of red that doesn't come from light, but from memory, from violence, from consequence. That's when you see it. At first, it looks like a mirage, a shimmer, dust playing tricks, but it doesn't flicker like heat. It holds a town. A small one tucked between 2 cliffs that weren't there yesterday. Eli gasps, "Is that it?" You nod. Even before you read the rusted sign at the edge of the road, you know its name, Sixes. Painted in peeling black letters on a sign split straight down the middle, hanging by one rusted chain. You dismount. The town waits, silent, still, like it's listening. You walk the main street, count the buildings. The old man was right, 6 churches, 6 saloons, 6 general stores. All shut, all boarded, but none abandoned. There are boot prints in the dust, fresh, no wind, no sound. Even the horse doesn't follow. At the center of town, there's a fountain, dry, no water has flowed in it for years. But there's something in the basin, books. Hundreds of them, all copies. All the same book, the one you carry. You look down at yours. It twitches in your hands like a caught insect. Eli kneels and picks one up. Opens the first page, blank. He flips through. Every single page empty, except the last. Soon? Your hands shake. You draw the coin, feel its chill. Remember the clockmaker's warning? Flip it, heads, you enter, tails, you run. You hesitate, then you flick it into the air. It turns over and over, slow as thunder. Then it lands on its edge. It doesn't fall, doesn't roll. Just stands balanced in the dirt like time itself is holding its breath. You and Eli stare. The air grows heavy. Then the doors to the 6 churches open at once, and from each a figure steps forward, 6 of them. Dressed in mourning black, faces covered with pale veils. They move in unison. Slow, graceful, like they've rehearsed this moment 1,000 times. They speak together, their voices layered like echoes bouncing down a canyon. We've been waiting. You don't ask who they are, you already know. The mourners, real ones, not drifters. Not madmen, the original 6. The ones who found the book first and never let it go. You ask what they want. Their heads turn slow as our hands. One lifts a hand and points not at you, but at Eli. He's the last. You step in front of him. No, you say, take me. They pause, whispers circle the town. The book in your hand opens on its own, pages flipping furiously. Then a name, your name, written in ink that smokes as it dries. Then another name, Eli. You look at him. He looks at you. The mourners speak again. There must be 2. One to carry the book, one to forget it. It was never about sacrifice, it was about balance. Someone has to hold the memory. Someone else has to be free of it. You feel the weight now, not just of the book, but of every life that's carried it. Every town it's touched, every name it's written and erased. You turn to Eli, he's crying. So are you. You hand him the coin. Flip it, you say. He stares at it, then at you, and flips, this time heads. The mourners nod, they step aside. Reveal a door behind the fountain, wooden, cracked, carved with thousands of tiny letters. Names, dates, places written in ink and something darker. You walk toward it. Eli starts to follow, but you stop him. This is where I go, you say. He begs. You say nothing, you only hand him your saddlebag. Tell him to ride west until the book is just a dream. He nods and you smile. For the first time in days you turn, open the door, step inside. The air changes, the sky goes dark. And the book in your hands begins to sing, not music, not words. Just remembrance. You take a deep breath and disappear into the place that isn't a place. Where the Wild West never died, it just got buried. With people like you. Hey, so here's a little ditty for ya. Oh, and goddamn spoilers. It isn't darkness. Not quite. Darkness would be a mercy. This is ink, alive and moving. Heavy, wet ink that clings to your skin, your eyes, your thoughts. The moment you step through the door, the world collapses inward. Not violently. Not with fire or fury, with memory. The door behind you vanishes. The sound of Eli's voice, the coins clink, the sigh of the mourners, it's all gone. Now there is only the book. And you're not carrying it anymore. You are inside it. It takes form around you, pages as walls, letters as wind, punctuation as stars. You walk a corridor made of sentences. Stories flicker like fireflies in the margins. And every single one is about you. You see yourself in mirrors made of prose. In a saloon with blood on the floor. On a cliff watching your horse fall. At the edge of the field of ticking grass. In the desert, cradling Eli's sleeping form. Moments that happened. Moments that almost happened. Moments that could still come. The book doesn't just remember the past. It records possibility. Each page you pass shows a different version of the same man. You, in one you're older, in another dead. In another, you never took the book. In another, you are the book. You try not to look too long. You try not to breathe too deep. But the book notices, and it turns its gaze on you. The world ripples. Ink spills across the corridor. The pages begin to peel, shrivel, scream. Then a voice, no language, just sensation. Cold and hunger and grief wrapped in syllables too ancient to pronounce. The book speaks, but not to your ears, to your bones. And it asks a question, are you willing? You don't answer out loud. You don't need to, the book already knows. You are. You've been willing since the first time you opened it. Since the first word whispered itself into your dreams. Since before you found it, because deep down it didn't choose you. You went looking for it. The path begins to climb. Pages fold into stairs. At the top a single door waits. Unlike the others, this one isn't made of paper. It's wood, blackened. Bound in iron and carved with 6 symbols, a skull, a star, a knife, a coin, a fire, and a book. You reach for the handle. It bites your palm, not metaphorically. It bites. Teeth hidden in the metal sink into your skin. Blood runs down your wrist. The door opens, you step through, and find them, the authors. Not men, not women, not even people anymore. Just figures robed, faceless, sitting in a circle around a table made of bones and bound pages. Each one holds a quill made from a crow's feather. They write with your blood. You feel it leave your veins, slowly, carefully, not enough to kill. Just enough to remember. The central figure looks up. Its face is blank parchment. And on it, words begin to write themselves. You are the 77th. You ask what that means. The figure tilts its head. 76 before you carried the book. 76 returned it. You are the first to enter. The room shakes, not with sound, with finality. They stand one by one. Then the central one speaks again, words forming as it moves. Do you understand the burden? You nod, you do. You understand now why no one survives the Wild West. Because the Wild West was never about survival, it was about memory. The memory of blood, of bullets, of loneliness wrapped in gunpowder and dust. And the book remembers it all. The West isn't a place, it's a wound. and you're walking straight into it. They hand you a quill and a page, blank. Your turn. You ask what to write. The answer comes without sound. Your truth. Your hand moves. You don't know where the ink comes from. You don't question it. You just write, line after line. Not facts. Not history. Truth. About what it cost. About what it meant. About who you were before the book and what you are now. When you finish, the figures bow, the book closes, the world folds. And you fall, not down, not up, just out of the book, out of the memory, out of the wound, and into the fire. Hey there, partner. Ready to ride off into that good night? Just remember, it's not a bug, it's a feature. Every time he finishes a sentence, poof, the page goes blank, leaving him high and dry with no way to know how his story's gonna end. About the power of the written word and about a gunslinger, what do you think happens next? Does Roland decide to rewrite his story, or does he just let it play out? But before I go, just remember, the West ain't just a place. It's a state of mind. A place where anything can happen and everything's possible. Just like this here story. Who knows what kind of twists and turns the trail might take next. But one thing's for sure, it'll be rooting tootin' good time. So take care of yourselves and each other. And remember, the best is yet to come. That's all for now, partner. See you next time. And what kind of trouble does he find himself in when he least expects it? Why don't you mosey on down to the comments section and let us know what you think? And while you're at it, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Your support really means the world to us, so thank you kindly. Who's just trying to find his way in a world that's gone topsy-turvy. You think you know where this is going, but trust me, you don't. This tale'll keep you on the edge of your seat until the very last page, so don't go anywhere, partner. We got plenty more stories to spin. Just sit tight and enjoy the ride, because in this world, anything can happen. So, being the persistent type, he figures he might as well just keep on trucking and see where the trail takes him. But let me tell you, this ain't your grandma's typewriter. Oh no, siree. This thing's got a mind of its own. And as Roland keeps on writing, the story starts to take on a life of its own. The words flowing from his fingertips become reality right before his very eyes. It's like he's conjuring up the future, but without the fancy magic tricks. Now let's get to it. Our hero finds himself in a heap of trouble after stumbling upon a peculiar cabin in the woods, or as they say out west, tumbleweeds and pine trees. And wouldn't you know it, inside that humble abode, he lays his eyes on a typewriter? Yeah, you heard right, a typewriter. And somehow he just feels compelled to start tapping away at those keys and lo, and behold, he's writing his very own story. Talk about a plot twist. Well, hold your horses, buckaroo, because we got ourselves a tale to tell. So grab a chair, pour yourself a tall glass of sweet tea and settle in, because this here is a story about a man named Roland Deschine, aka the Last Gunslinger. And just a reminder, if you find yourself in the middle of a sentence and the page goes blank, but here's the kicker. Now you might be scratching your head wondering, how in the world does a gunslinger end up in a cabin with a typewriter? Well, let me clue you in. This here's no ordinary typewriter. It's a portal to other worlds, a doorway to different dimensions. And our boy Roland, he's got a knack for wandering into places he ain't supposed to be. But the more he writes, the more he realizes that this story ain't just some wild adventure. It's his story. His life, his loves, his losses, it's all there on the page. And as he reads back over his own tale, he's forced to confront the choices he's made and the consequences that come with them. This here's a story about second chances. All right, Pilgrim, I reckon it's time to wrap up this here tale. But before we go, I got a question for ya. Now, as for me, I gotta be on my way. Got stories to write and adventures to seek. The ending was fire, but no story ends in fire, only begins. You thought it was over, it's not. It's just begun for you. You finished the last page, and there it is again. You sleep in barn lofts that weren't there a minute ago. You drink from wells that disappear when your thirst is gone. You age, but not forward. Not backward either. You age in sideways directions. Some days you're 30, some days you're dust. Some days you don't exist at all until someone whispers your name by accident. And suddenly you're there, standing in the doorway, the book under your arm, saying, "You called?" You see others sometimes. New keepers, some proud, some broken, some didn't want the book, some chased it, some weep when they finish the page, some laugh. All of them are changed. You start to realize what the old man meant, way back in part 1. You won't survive a day in the Wild West. He was right, you didn't. The person you were when you stepped into it, gone, burned. But the one who walked out, that version endures, because the West never let go of its chosen. And now you are its voice. The book, more keepers, more books, more truths to hold before the world forgets them. You sigh. Sit beneath a twisted old mesquite tree that might not be real. Open your book and keep writing, back in your hands. Blank once more, except for one line. Now you write for them. You flip the pages. Each one is ready, eager, like a field before the fire starts. You begin with the boy who didn't survive the blizzard in Dead Horse Gulch. Write of the woman who burned her name from every record, but couldn't forget the scream in her son's throat. You write about the man who shot his own shadow because it followed too closely. You write them all, not for glory, not for gold, but for remembrance. Because if someone doesn't carry their story, they vanish, and that's the real curse of the West. Not dying, being erased. But the world didn't close. It cracked open wider. What was once myth is now geography. Where ghosts used to walk, now you do in daylight. What was once a ghost story told in moonlight has become duty, and you're not a man anymore, you're a keeper. The one who stays, the one who remembers, the one who writes. The rider you saw in the distance, he never saw you. Not really. To him, you're just another shadow in the desert, another figure carved in dust and old thunder. But the book in his hands, you recognize it. The worn spine, the mark scorched into the back. It's your copy, but now it's his. And that means your story is starting again from the other side. You watched him ride off toward whatever doom or revelation waits. Then the wind spoke. Not words, but a presence. Something old, something older than the West itself. It wrapped around you, cold and dry, like paper just before it burns, and began to whisper. A list of names. You don't recognize them all? Some you do. Some are distant, like dreams you had before your first breath. Some are names that haven't been spoken in over 100 years, but they all share one thing. They are keepers. Just like you, scattered across the desert, across time. Men and women who held the book, finished the page, and chose not to forget. One lives in a mind that collapsed before he was born. One walks a loop through a canyon that doesn't appear on maps. One sleeps beneath a saloon floor, teeth gritted in eternal vigilance. You're not alone. You never were. You feel their heartbeat. It thumps under the soil. And through that rhythm, you begin to understand. The Wild West didn't end. It was simply buried. Because people stopped listening. Because the stories were too hard, too wild, too brutal. But someone has to remember them. Not the legends, the truths, the ugliness, the hunger, the betrayal and loneliness and pain. You look down. You live in the spaces between stories now. You feel the wind rise again. The list of names grows longer. Okay, now that you've read it, tell me this. Do you pass or do you fail? What would the editor say about your story? This piece was inspired by the amazing community we have here. So let's talk about what might happen next. First things first, this is a snippet from a larger story. If you want to see how this all comes together, you'll have to wait a bit. But fear not, it will come. I promise. This piece is a kind of self-contained world. So if you want to explore it on its own, you can. What kind of person would take on such a heavy task, and what drives them to keep going even though they know the cost? But that's where the story takes an unexpected turn. The editor's arrival shakes them to their core. It's a stark reminder of the high stakes involved in their work. They're not just dealing with words on a page. They're dealing with lives, with legacies, and the very essence of what it means to be human. The editor doesn't offer them comfort or understanding. He just presents them with a fact. Their work has value. But if they falter, if they stray from the path of clarity and honesty, everything could be lost. Well, that's for you to decide. Maybe they're a historian, someone who believes in preserving the past. Or maybe they're a journalist, driven by an unquenchable thirst for the truth. Perhaps they're a therapist, dedicated to helping others confront their demons. Whatever their reason, they're a conduit between the dead and the living, ensuring that the voices of the silenced are heard. They bear witness to the pain and suffering of the world and make sure it's not forgotten. If you want to use it as a writing prompt, you can. If you want to share it with a friend, you can. It's time to remember why they took on this mantle in the first place. It's time to recommit to the stories they're carrying. And as the sun rises and the shadows grow longer, they know one thing for sure: they won't let go. They will hold on to every word, every memory, every story until they find a way to give them meaning, because that's what it means to be a keeper. It's a lonely job, but someone's got to do it, and they won't have it. And if you want to discuss it, well, this is a good place to start. So here are some prompts to get us talking. First off, how do you think our protagonist feels at the end of this piece? Relief, fear, sadness, excitement? Here's 2 more pieces we think you might like. They're pretty great, so click away if you want to check them out. When the sky forgets its color and a man in paper white stands at your campfire, you know you're in trouble. The editor's arrival is never pleasant. He carries judgment in his eyes and erasure in his hands. But despite the gravity of his purpose, there's a certain poetry to his actions, a stark beauty in the way he handles lives as if they were books. After all, that's exactly what they are. Stories are measured by their impact, their honesty, and their ability to move us. The editor isn't there to judge these things, but to assess them. His job is to ensure that the right stories endure, not because they're perfect, but because they're true. He values clarity, precision, and the courage to face reality. Second, what do you think happens to those whose names are erased by the editor? Are they truly gone? Do they become part of the stories? Or somewhere else entirely? Third, what could this story say about the nature of storytelling itself? What does it mean to capture a moment in time? And what happens when we remember something we weren't supposed to forget? Fourth, okay, big question here. Do you think you'd pass the test? Would the editor nod at your story? Why or why not? And finally, what other stories do you want to see us tell? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. We can't wait to read them. And hey, while you're down there, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps us grow. When you hear a knock inside your chest, it's time to pay attention. But what about our protagonist? In the face of such grim responsibility, it's easy to imagine how they might become jaded or overwhelmed. The encounter leaves them shaken, but it also serves as a wake-up call. It's been 2 years since I first set foot in the West, 2 years since I became the keeper, 2 years of walking through fire, walking through silence, walking until my own skin felt like parchment, weathered and thin, 2 years of regrets. No markers, the final silence before the scream. I see a campfire, though there's no wood. I see shadows dancing, though no one's there. And across the flames sits a child, no older than 10, wearing my boots. Holding my book. The child stares at me with eyes too old for their face, eyes that know. Eyes that have seen my whole journey from the very first crack of dawn in part 1. I sit across from them. They offer me the book. I take it, and when I open it, I freeze. There are no words. None, just mirrors, hundreds, thousands, tiny reflections of me. Every time I doubted, every time I lied to myself, every time I wanted to go back. They stare at me, not accusing, not forgiving, just watching. The child speaks, only once. You never had to survive the West, you had to remember it. That was always the difference. I nod. I understand now. The West never wanted my body. It wanted my truth, and I gave it. The child smiles. They hand me something small, a match, just one. I know what it means. I strike it. The flame is weak, but then the mirrors begin to burn, one by one. Each reflection melts into smoke, until finally there's just one page left, and one sentence on it, written in the same hand as the editor. But this time it's addressed directly to me. Lay it down. So I do. The book, my journey, my name, all of it. I leave it by the fire and rise, no longer heavy, no longer hunted. And as I walk away, the dawn breaks across the mesa. A light I hadn't seen in ages, clean, bright, free of smoke. I walk without pain, without weight, without a trail behind me, because this is the end. Not just of the story, but of my part in it. And somewhere, miles behind, another traveler stumbles upon a burnt scrap of paper in the dust. They read my name, only once. Then they pick up a strange book with no title and flip to the first blank page. Their hands shake. Their breath catches. And as the sun rises behind them, they write their first words. Let me tell you why you won't survive a day in the Wild West. No final gunshot or whispered legend to close the tale. Just a road, dirt worn thin by centuries of passing boots, hooves, and regrets. I walk it alone, as I always have, as all keepers do. The book is under my arm, heavier than ever. Not in weight, but in burden. Each step I take, the dust tries to rise and speak. It remembers too. Even the land can't forget the footsteps that came before me. I walked through fire. I crossed into silence. I outlived versions of myself I'll never meet again, and yet, here I am. No richer, no safer, no more alive than I was on day one. But something's different now. I'm no longer trying to survive the West. I've become part of it. A stitch in its tattered coat. A verse in its half-remembered hymn. Each footprint a prayer. Now I'm coming home, if you could call this place home. I haven't seen a face I recognized in months. I haven't heard a voice I knew since part one. If anyone asked me how many versions of myself I de-killed, I couldn't answer. Someday it stops mattering how many. Someday you stop remembering each loss. You just exist, or maybe I should say I existed. I walked so long and so hard that I forgot what else there was to do. I stopped wanting things, needing things, hoping for things. What was the point? Things didn't change. People didn't change. Me, I didn't even recognize myself anymore. And I don't mean that the way people sometimes say it, that we changed so much over 2 years. I mean that I forgot who I was. Got lost in the work, in the penance, in the years. There are no signs. As the trail slopes into a dry ravine, I feel it, that old dread, soft as velvet but sharp underneath. The last trial,